Good morning. Good morning. Great to see so many people here. Hey, before we start in, we'd like to begin today by acknowledging the land upon which the University of Buffalo operates, which is the territory of the Seneca Nation, a member of the Haudenosaunee Six Nation Confederacy. Today, this region is still home to the Haudenosaunee people, and we are grateful for the opportunity to live, to work, to play, and to express and share our ideas in this beautiful home. Well, welcome to Sustainability Month, and thank you for joining us not only here today, but for the 30 other events. We're looking for someone to attend all 30, and you get the gold star. Not only Sustainability Month, but also yesterday we started Pride Week as well, so it's an awesome week here at the university. We have a great session this morning, mainly because of all of you who are here. We apologize. We actually had to cap off the event late last week, and thank you for everyone and your engagement and joining us today. We're also excited because we have some great partners who are going to share their experience with us today across the university. We'll start with some key thoughts from those partners and faculty from the university who will express their views on why it is pivotal to act on climate action and advance this work as we pick up the pace. We'll then share a key update on some of the climate action mitigation efforts UB has made over the past year, with a big shout out to our climate action captains who you heard from last year. We'll then work through some key evolutions and ways that we've kind of tweaked the strategy a little bit, and the inclusion of 3 new integrators. And this will be followed by a tabletop exercise around those integrators where we ask you to engage and give us some thoughts. That's why you're all arranged this way today. And we will finally round things out by announcing our SLICE Award winners and hearing from 2 of our exceptional students to kind of close us out this morning. So to start things off, I'd like to first introduce Professor Sophie Nowicki. She's the Empire Innovation Professor within the Geology Department. Sophie serves on the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change for the UN. This is the scientific body that has been guiding our planet's research on the threat that climate change poses to us. Also, a really fun fact, I think Sophie is the only person here at the university who has a glacier named after her in Antarctica. Sophie?
Thank you. Great. Well, thanks for having me here. So, we really are an institution where research really, really matters, right? We're doing tons of research, and my research, along with many of the research in my department, centers around climate change and the effects that it has on our everyday life. And as Ryan mentioned, I was honored to be invited to be an author on the latest Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change report. That took about many years. But the last month, we released the synthesis report, the one that summarizes everything. And one of the key messages that we have said is behind me, right? This is one of the key messages that we show. Basically, throughout my grandmother's lifetime, you can see her in a little picture here. She's 105 in that picture, and my kids are 5. The world warmed up, okay, really, really fast. And it's going to keep on warming, right? This is the message that we're saying. World is going to keep on warming, but we have a choice, and we can act now to make a big difference for the future of our generations. We can make action now, and every little step that we do will make warming less warm for my kids and your kids, right? All of us. But if we keep on waiting, is this going to keep on become harder and harder? And that's the message that I wanted for you to kind of keep in mind, is that it's not all over and doomed, but the more we wait, the harder it will become. Thank you.
Thank you, Sophie. It's now my pleasure to introduce Professor Noemi Waite from the Department of Learning and Instruction at the Graduate School of Education. Noemi is one of those incredible people, both for her authenticity in being able to blend her research, her equitable outlook on life, and the ability to walk the talk. Noemi? Thank you.
Good morning. I am not a climate change expert like Sophie, and I don't have to be to both understand the threat we have created for ourselves and the role I can take to address it. Here are 3 reasons why I am taking climate action. Professionally, in my role here at UB, my research focuses on how students learn, how they make sense of and understand phenomena, but most importantly, in what context are they learning. Thus, understanding how students develop scientific and climate literacy is significant for students' identity development, agency, and subsequent action. For example, one strand of my work is the STEM Cyclist Project, which engages Black and brown youth in the science and engineering of bikes and biking as a pathway to recruit more minoritized students in STEM and cultivate STEM identities. Bikes and biking are critical to mobility justice, agency, and developing stewards of the community and the local environment. Pedagogically, I promote climate action in my teacher preparation courses by teaching beyond the walls of the classroom. My students have real-world experiences in our local community where they engage science and STEM phenomena that is relevant to the neighborhoods and culture where our K-12 students live. For example, the upper images illustrate science and social studies pre-service teachers biking in our community, learning about cultural and historical STEM assets in the city of Buffalo. On the right are students engaging in a mindfulness activity as a way to ground them in nature at TIFF Nature Preserve. And that activity, by the way, was led by Kimberly Andresen, who is the director at TIFF. Altogether, the goal here is to cultivate pre-service science teachers who understand, value, and advocate for their community. Thus, this broadens participation for our pre-college students, as pre-service teachers serve as models, promoting the same values among their future students. The effect is exponential, as high schoolers then become agents of climate action in all segments and spaces they occupy. According to the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the effects of climate change, the frequency of environmental and natural disasters will become more commonplace. It is well documented that vulnerable, marginalized, and racialized communities stand to experience the brunt of this impact. The 2020 Buffalo blizzard is evidence of this phenomena. Climate action needs to be equitable and just, and it is critical that these communities are not only recipients of, but should be major actors in decision-making related to climate justice and resilience. Cities like Buffalo and my country of birth, Belize, which you see on the lower left, I guess, to me, yeah. So through our Disaster Justice and Resilience Project, we are making efforts to amplify the voices of those most impacted by climate change and climate disasters. Finally, not only is climate action part of my research and teaching and learning, but it is integral in my personal life. I am an avid cyclist who bikes with the Eastside Bike Club, Slow Roll Buffalo, and the Buffalo Biking Autobots. I also participate in Ride for Roswell, and I'm a new member of the League of American Bicyclists. And thanks to the generous funding of Go Bike Buffalo, I am in the process of becoming a certified League of American Bicyclist cycling instructor. As a woman, immigrant, and differently abled woman of color, my students see representation that is not only talk, but a living example of what climate action looks like. Thank you.
Thank you, Noemi. You have not had a good day unless you've gone out on a bike ride with Noemi. Always fun. And our final faculty member is Professor Jason Corwin of the Seneca Nation Deer Clan and UB's Department of Indigenous Studies. Jason has been a fantastic addition to UB, and we are very lucky to have him. Jason, I've learned so much from you in the past 6-7 months, and I'm happy our community will have that chance as well. Jason?
Nyawaiskano Swogwego. So I greet you all in Onantawaka Gaweno, the Seneca language. It means I'm thankful that all of you are well. I'm very thankful that we're able to be here today. When I speak publicly, I can often be very long-winded, so I've prepared, and I will read off my phone since we only have a short amount of time here together today. Indigenous people have been warning the global community for decades about the unsustainability of the status quo that has prioritized profits and pollution over the planet and all people. Haudenosaunee people, including 2 noted professors from UB, Orrin Lyons and the late John Mohawk, have been bringing this message to international bodies and meetings for a very long time, that how we live on Earth matters. How we relate to one another and the natural world is of the utmost and fundamental importance. That Indigenous people have important philosophies and deep practical knowledge about sustainable relationships to the biotic and abiotic relations in our environment that so generously give of themselves so that we may live. Thankfully, more and more are taking heed while we see still yet so many signs of a global system that is desperately seeking to continue business as usual, which very apparently does not ensure the well-being of 7 generations. As a faculty member who is following in the footsteps of John and Orrin by educating UB students and the wider public about the importance of a conscious and reciprocal relationship with the natural world, as well as one of the contributing authors to the forthcoming state climate change report from NYSERDA, I take these matters of sustainability, environmental health, and climate change very seriously. Thankfully, I have found others here at UB who share these concerns and passion for doing meaningful and impactful work, which is why we are gathered here today. As an educational institution, particularly one where there are growing departments of Indigenous Studies and Environment and Sustainability Studies, many professors across a wide variety of disciplines who are looking at sustainability issues, research units like UB Renew, a robust sustainability hub, our gracious host today, and many staff and other workers here at the university who do the day-to-day things to bring these sustainability visions to life. We have a tremendous opportunity to engage in interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary research and practice that tackles extremely pressing real-world issues. My phone just did a little thing. While providing teaching that prepares students to make substantive change through their chosen fields. That work is happening and is evolving in exciting ways. I have found my students and colleagues to be very receptive and engaged with the work that I am doing, and I look forward to the continued collaborations that make our campus, our institution, and the wider world a place of healing, wisdom, and justice. Nyawa, thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you so much. Thanks for that counsel, Sophie, Noemi, Jason. That counsel, along with the voices of our students, our faculty, our staff here, are what really give us our true north in our work here. We are making a difference, and it's because of the climate action work that you are all doing, that the climate action captains and the teams are doing, and we're pushing this work forward. So here's a more specific look at our climate action over the past year.
UB is a global leader in higher education when it comes to taking climate action. We are boldly working towards our goal of achieving carbon neutrality by 2030, the date our scientists tell us we must meet if we are to avoid the worst effects of climate change.
We are recognized internationally for our climate action. For decades, we have brought our expertise to bear on the complex challenge of climate change.
The work that is happening here is very exciting and really a model for our country. When we choose to invest in the natural talent and invest in our future.
It's really exciting that UB is expanding its solar program because this is a way that UB can lead by example in our community. And also it's a way for us to teach our students how they can implement this kind of action in the community.
The biggest project is the nearly 25 acres of solar panels at the UB Solar Stroll, just across from the North Campus.
These panels help us multiply our sourcing and renewable energy by about 20 times from where we were before we put these panels in.
And it doesn't just stop at solar. We are also working to transition our heating away from carbon-producing natural gas and towards electrification in Crosby and Foster halls.
We've installed in both of the buildings heat pumps as part of our heating and ventilation system. And the beauty about heat pumps is it's all run by electricity for both the heating as well as the cooling.
We are also engaged in a comprehensive study to overhaul the entire South Campus heating infrastructure to increase efficiency.
Part of doing all of these very historic old buildings, we're doing a lot of work around the building envelope too. Just kind of is a very layering effect, right? Like by having good insulation in a building so that we don't lose cooling or heating out to the atmosphere. And then on top of that, you have new equipment that is much more efficient.
Getting around is also getting greener. In the last year, we have begun the process of transitioning our fleet of nearly 500 vehicles over to electric, with facilities, IT, campus dining and shops, and campus mail taking the lead.
I think that perception is reality, and I think that seeing electric vehicles on campus, seeing our faculty and staff utilizing them and supporting them, I think it sends a really strong message to the university and the campus and the community as a whole.
In addition, the university is also working to create our first centralized EV charging lot to provide critical renewable energy fuel for our facilities fleet.
For the Bean Center parking lot project, the ideal future situation would be upwards of 55 charging stations, each charging station capable of charging 2 vehicles.
About a third of our overall emissions are from our transportation, whether that's flights, automobiles, etc. And so, a big focus of our mitigation efforts are to reduce that. The changes that are being made in the travel policy are really designed to do exactly that. Number one, to track our emissions better, but number two, to give us ideas and strategies on how we can reduce those overall emissions.
Through our carbon pricing group, we see the University of Buffalo as being a contender and being a leader when it comes to travel and carbon emissions, and marrying the two up and being able to advance things at our university and across higher education.
For those emissions that we do not have ready solutions for, we are developing a strategy to leverage carbon offsets.
I think that carbon offset programs can be viewed as sort of a get-out-of-jail-free card. And really, it's a way that you can keep emitting greenhouse gases, knowing that you're investing in something over here. And really, what UB wants is to bring the two strategies together, to change behavior, have technical improvement, so that we're owning our responsibility to carbon neutrality, but then recognizing through things like air travel that we can't offset everything, so we need to invest in outside programs.
Using our knowledge of carbon emissions, we are taking a closer look at the way we grow, buy, and eat our food.
Recently, we've been able to achieve one of our climate action plan goals by being able to quantify the impact our food system has on greenhouse gas. Some of the things we're doing in partnership with campus dining and shops and our students is developing a food labeling system so that as diners eat in dining halls, they can make a more informed choice.
And it's not just what we're eating, it's what we're doing when we're done. That's where the new ROT stations in One World Cafe come in.
The ROT stations stand for Recycle, Organics, and Trash. They are a multi-stream waste system, and it allows the customer, when they kind of enter there, to kind of sort their own waste, and then on the back end for us to kind of divert the waste in different manners. Technically, it's all about choice. It's just showing you what can be done if you make this choice. Not saying that you shouldn't make that other choice, but what if you just made this choice once?
It's probably no surprise that UB is ranked among the top 10 universities in the world for climate action, but there's still progress to be made.
In Western New York, I think UB is the leader, right? I mean, we have so many wonderful minds in our researchers as well as our administrators. We can bring a lot of concepts to fruition.
You don't have to be an expert in one particular area. It's about choices, and educating people on those choices and giving options helps us all do our part.
Progress happens when people come together to solve challenging problems. Here at UB, we are working with one another to advance climate action and achieve carbon neutrality for UB and beyond.
A big shout out to our Center for the Arts team helping us storytell and get that message out. You know, as the video described, our campus has made some solid progress, and we're moving the needle these past 3 years since we launched our updated climate action strategy. But we have a long way to go, and some of the hardest work is in front of us to achieve that goal. So it's imperative that we don't pause, we don't stop, or we don't become complacent. We have to constantly review what's being done, and today we want to both share with you and get feedback on how we're evolving this strategy. When we rolled out UB's 10 and 10 back in April of 2020, got one more slide here, we had 10 specific strategic areas that we were focusing on. And since that time, we've learned a lot, and we're adding in some new elements and reorganizing some others. We're specifically doing kind of two things here. We're adding in our ESG work that UB's Advisory Committee on Responsible Investment has been doing for the past several years. And we're clarifying the two ways that we create change. First, through behavior change, that being actions specifically that we ask us messy, silly, imperfect humans to act differently upon. And the second is leveraging technological improvements to reduce those emissions. But perhaps more importantly, we are introducing 3 new integrators that run through each of these 10 areas. And they are climate justice, resilience, and leveraging the academy or making it happen. These 3 integrative themes are woven throughout our entire climate action work, and each of our 10 strategies must consider its equity and its impact on historically disadvantaged communities, how it ensures stability, resilience, and longevity of our campus, and how it engages with our students and research that occurs across the university. They're all catalysts integrated into our climate efforts with the goal of positively impacting our communities here on campus and beyond. To provide a little bit more context, Derek, Tonga, and Martha are going to help us kind of go through these a little bit. Derek Nichols, I think most of you know, is the Associate Director for UB Sustainability and has been a tireless advocate for advancing climate justice, both here at UB and across the state. Derek?
Hello. I need to start with a confession. Those of you who know me know that I am not a typical greenie. I've never been that environmentalist. I've never, when I see those images of the polar bear on the glacier, yes, that's sad, but that was never my drive to be part of this work. What I do care about is how that polar bear, that glacier, and me are all connected. Because we're all living and trying to thrive on this planet to the best of our abilities. But right now it feels like the world is disconnected. Not only are people disconnected from different species or nature, we've detached from each other. The world's richest 1% of the population are responsible for more than twice as much emissions as the poorest 50%. These emissions are causing the planet's climate to change, and those changes will increase the amount of natural disasters that happen a year, destabilize our water and food systems, and flood coastlines. All of this is currently happening at faster rates to people who didn't cause the problem. So that's climate justice. The reality is that marginalized people are experiencing personal disasters every day. I'll give you an example. I have to confess something else. For some of you who really know me, know that I am a gay man. As a queer person, these last few years have been particularly hard. From Pulse to Colorado Springs to laws that ban drag queen story time, it seems like there's a daily push to push queer people back in the closet. The scarier thing for me, though, is that there are radical people out there that blame the sin of homosexuality or being queer as a cause to climate disasters. They speak in horrible, violent rhetoric, and it's just hateful speech. So what's going to happen when things get worse? So this is just my personal example, but climate justice is intersectional. Women, persons with disabilities, BIPOC individuals, they will all feel the impacts of climate change in their own way, in their own communities. Maybe these traumas make marginalized people well-equipped to deal with this crisis at a global scale. We are in this crisis because the world has been operating in a system that was created by colonization and subjugation. So providing a space and listening to those voices that historically weren't allowed to speak might be the answer we're looking for. I imagine there are a lot of thoughts out there, especially because you're here. This is for work. How does this apply to what I'm going to do when I go back to my office? So I'll make some connections, but ultimately we want you to make those connections a little bit later on. So I want you to think about when we partner with the community for research or engagement, are we forming deeply connected relationships that allow for the people we're working with to have their input? Are we not being extractive? When a natural disaster strikes abroad, are we as a university prepared to offer services to our international students that might suffer from stress and anxiety of not knowing if their family is alive? Higher education is pretty expensive. Are we checking to make sure our students have access to food, housing, and reliable transportation? Do we really need to go to conferences in states that have enacted laws which are hurtful to vulnerable people? When a speaker comes to campus and says really horrible things about our really, really vulnerable populations of students and faculty and staff here, are we prepared to deal with that? Going back to intersectionality, the President's Advisory Council on Race has laid the groundwork for advancing much of this work, increasing the diversity of our faculty and staff. Meaningful community engagement and teaching our students about anti-racism will be crucial in our climate justice work. And the goal of this integrator is to keep our climate work accountable through this lens. I am really, truly grateful to work with so many of you in this room. The beautiful part of our climate action work here at the university is building these connections that we're lacking. So I really hope that after this, you can start thinking about how your work has this impact at a bigger scale than just emissions. Thank you. It's not you.
Thank you, Derek, and thanks for framing that integrator out for us. Really nice work. Tonga Pham is the Associate Vice President for Facilities. We also just got rumor that she's been nominated for an Oscar and Best Supporting Role as a facilities expert in electrification. That was a joke, really bad joke. And now I'm off my rhythm. And in addition to being one of our key architects of our climate action plan, she's also working every day with her phenomenal team. I see some of them out here as well to keep our university operating under increasingly challenging conditions, as you'll see in the next visual. Tonga?
Good morning. And don't worry, there'll be extra payback for Mr. McPherson with that statement. I look at my team, heating, cooling, that's where I'm thinking for Mr. McPherson's building. So in all seriousness, when we mention the word resilient, I just kind of want to read the formal definition so that we're all kind of on the same page. And it's really the capacity or the ability to be able to withstand and quickly recover from a damage or a loss or difficulties. So a lot of times we hear the words toughness, grit, that are all kind of used kind of synonymously with that word. But based on the events over the last 3 years, I think we can all agree that resiliency is now a necessary trait and not a nice to have. So we can kind of see there from just the generational storm that seems to be happening almost annually versus in a generation as a prime example. But a lot of times when these external type forces kind of hit our community, a lot of people, where their minds go is, to infrastructure, right? So we often think about backup generators. How do we keep energy going? Why don't we have like 10 more snowplows so we can kind of keep everything moving in case one snowplow does break? But you know, we are always kind of looking at those ways of how do we ensure that the campuses, the buildings, the utilities on our campuses can sustain such blows that hit us. How do we operate during a storm? And then more importantly, how do we recover and kind of keep our business going after the damage or the loss? So we're currently looking into alternative fuel sources. We're working with local utility companies to ensure that we get redundant energy feeds to our campus. We look at every single event and kind of do a debrief with ourselves on how do we get better? What are some of the lessons learned? How do we change some of the designs? Or even operationally, how do we function kind of differently? But the true secret sauce to resiliency is behavior change. And us messy, silly humans, as Ryan talks about, is really the key to making the campuses and our personal lives too, being able to endure these losses, but hopefully even move beyond that and become adaptable, where we don't only just bounce back from an event, but we bounce forward and are able to kind of improve after each and every incident.
Thanks, Tonga. Awesome. Great. I love the idea of bouncing forward. And finally, Professor Martha Baum is the Associate Dean for Academic Affairs in the School of Architecture and Planning. And I think Martha has really been a champion for leveraging our operations as a pedagogical teaching tool. We don't just make widgets here. Martha, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Ryan, and thanks for the invitation to speak, I was told briefly, about my experience here at UB. That's the challenge for me. It's easier for me to talk for an hour than a couple minutes, but I've been very lucky in my time here as a faculty member to integrate climate action across my teaching, my research and creative practice, and my service work at UB. And so I want to use my brief moments here to make the case to you that there's a place for everyone here in this work, and that there is a place for this work in everything that we do. And that's both in the classroom as students and faculty and across the other work outside of the classroom. So I'm going to talk briefly about the GROW project and some of the early days here, which you know, hopefully, as an example of high-performance architecture and a high-performing building here on campus. But I want to talk to you about what it took to make it happen. It was a big project, a lot of it in the classroom, but a lot of it outside the classroom as well. This was a project that started back in 2013 and involved over 350 students across 14 departments at UB. You see some of the team here in front of the house at its competition in California. Note the palm trees in the background. So you recognize the house. It's now here on campus, but it started as part of it. It was an entry in an international competition. And so I personally taught 7 architectural design studios working on everything from the overall concepts to the detailed design of the project. And faculty colleagues from architecture, the College of Arts and Sciences, the School of Engineering and Applied Sciences ran about a dozen additional classes and capstone projects. But in addition to teaching students in the classroom, we oversaw paid interns on the project. We coordinated waves of volunteers, including alumni volunteers, and mentored students from our own and actually different departments as well. And so that team conceptualized and designed and actually constructed the project, but also documented it, marketed it, did the financials, raised money, and coordinated the logistics to move the house to California and back. And then while in California, presented it to over 13,000 people while at the exhibition. But in addition to this, over 400 entities, individuals, corporations, nonprofits, gave us money to fund the project. We raised over $700,000 in cash and in-kind donations. And many of our first donors to our crowdfunding campaign were faculty and staff members here at the university. And I'll have you know this was the first sanctioned crowdfunding campaign at UB. And I'm grateful to this day to colleagues in corporate and foundation relations, communications, alumni relations for helping to make that happen. And this is what I found to be what I think of as the UB way: creativity, ingenuity, collaboration, and scrappiness, making it happen, pulling all together on a project that we share, that shares our values. So we took it to California, again, as you see here, then actually, yes, we brought it back. We exhibited it on South Campus for a term of about 2 years, and now it's in its final home here on North Campus. In that time, it's been open for tours. We've brought people through, all the way from kindergartners and brownie troops to high school students, middle school students in the Buffalo Public Schools and private schools, colleagues from other universities across the country. And now I'm very grateful that it's under the stewardship of Ryan and the Office of Sustainability, which is able to leverage the house now as the Grow Clean Energy Center. And its kind of unique aesthetic, I think you'd agree, and its tangible performance in the pursuit of climate action. This project helps us to visualize what design for climate action looks like. And through talks like this and conversations like this, it reminds us that we can do hard things together on this campus with, again, creativity, ingenuity, collaboration, and our UB scrappiness. And I'd like to say to the students in the room, this is a lot of what our students brought to this project. The passion for climate change, for making climate impact. And what we can do as faculty and staff is give them our guidance, coordination, expertise, whatever we have to bring to the table to leverage their emerging skills even before they have professional expertise and harness that passion to fight climate change and produce real, tangible results that we can see, touch, and please do visit. So thank you very much. I'll hand it back to you, Ryan.
Thank you, Martha. Where's our university communications colleagues? Somewhere. I know some of our, okay, back here, right? So bouncing forward and scrappiness, I think, is our new branding exercise that we're going for. We're going to ask you guys all to provide us some feedback on these 3 new integrators that you just heard about, and think about how they can be leveraged in your school, your unit, or department, or however you are kind of cleaved up. Some tables have two different entities there. We want you to work with your group and have one designated person who can digitally report out for you, and that'll be done by just clicking on that QR code there, and you'll get a quick little Google form that will come up, and answering the 3 following questions as a group. Number 1, what are your group's overall thoughts on the integrators? Number 2, how can your unit specifically embrace and practice these integrators within your area of work? And number 3, what are some individual actions you and or other members of your group can take to advance these 3 integrators? You'll have about 20 minutes to work together, and this feedback is going to be really important for us as we continue to refine and really solidify the strategy. Good luck. All right. Thank you for all of your engagement with this work, and thank you for submitting that so that we have it. We will use this, and it's going to help us quite a bit to refine those strategies I was talking about later. All right, so we're in our final leg here, and I'd now like to introduce UB's Vice President for Finance and Administration, Laura Hubbard, who will announce this year's SLICE Award winners. Laura?
All right, I get the fun part. They saved the fun part for me. So thank you all for being here today. I think there's a lot of great energy here, and I'm sure a lot of good ideas will come out of the discussions we just had. But now we'll go forward with the awards. A little background first. So since their inception in 2015, UB's Sustainability Leadership, Innovation, and Collaborative Engagement Awards, or better known as SLICE, have provided us a way to shine a light on the exemplary sustainability efforts of the UB community. So this really is community work. Each year, we are in awe of all that is done, both on and off campus, to improve our planet and humankind, and this year is no different. We also have once again created unique awards by repurposing part of buildings so that you can always have a piece of UB with you, literally. This year's SLICE Award is built around a brick from the historic Butler Mansion that was home to the Jacobs Executive Development Center. I'll begin our presentation by announcing the winner in each respective category, And I would ask, if present, I know we have at least one recipient who won't be here today, but the winner will join me here at the front of the stage as I call your name, and we'll have a little photo op as well. So with no further ado, let's go. Receiving the 2023 Faculty Award for Sustainability in Higher Education is Kim Diana Connolly, Professor of the School of Law. Kim is being recognized for the meaningful and impactful work of the law clinics under her direction, as well as her outstanding efforts in Puerto Rico, directing #UBLaw Responds Puerto Rico Recovery Assistance Legal Clinic. You need an acronym for that. Kim Diana, are you here? All right. The winner of the Staff Award for Sustainable Operations Initiative is Janice Cochran, Dietitian in Health Promotions. Janice is being recognized for her steadfast work to infuse sustainability into day-to-day operations of health promotions and ensure the campus community understands the impact their food choices have on the planet. Janice. Janice? That way. Next, this year's winner of the award for Sustainability Excellence by a Department or Operations Initiative is the UB student chapter of the Food Recovery Network. Accepting the award on behalf of the group is Katie Holzmacher. The Food Recovery Network is being recognized for their dedication to ensuring no food goes to waste on campus through the capture of over 21,000 pounds of food since their founding in 2020. It's great work. So Katie. If there are other board members here in attendance, please come up as well. Oh, great. Okay, and last, but certainly not least, we want to recognize our exceptional students, one of whom can't be here with us today because he's prioritizing being in class, for which we definitely support him. This year we have two winners of the Student Leadership Award for Sustainable Action. So first here today we have Andy Whitehead, a master's student in social work. Andy is being recognized for his work to create sustainably based programming and learning opportunities in the residence halls, and for his efforts to reduce economic barriers faced by residents of Buffalo's East Side. So Andy. Okay, and then our second student can't be here today. That is Devin Gorby, a PhD student in geology. And Devin is being recognized for her work to educate fellow scientists in the importance of communicating and educating with policymakers, or engaging with policy makers, to ensure climate change legislation occurs before it is too late. So let's recognize Devin, even though, oh, Devin's here. Wow, that's great.
Thank you, Laura. We'll do one group photo real quick here with Laura, and we'll close it out. And while you guys are doing that, maybe right over there, if that's all right. Do you mind being in that one? Perfect. Awesome. This is always the awkward photo while everyone's watching. Exactly. All right. Is Devon's professor here? That's all I want to know. Who let her out of class, right? That's great. Super. Congratulations to all of our Slice winners. Super. So now to close us out, we have, it's a bittersweet moment. We have two exceptional students who have been with us for the past few years, well, have been here at UB. They are seniors, but it's time for them to go on and do other amazing things in the world. So they're going to close us out, and we've been just incredibly blessed to have them here on our team, as well as throughout their work at the university. Nicole Tremsky and Amy Bentley will be giving closing remarks. I'm getting emotional. Congratulations.
Thank you, Ryan, and thank you all for coming today. My name is Amy Bentley, and I'm a senior environmental studies student. I came to UB as an undeclared student, but my courses here have helped me discover and refine my passion for sustainability. I'm currently most interested in sustainable agriculture, especially with its relation to women's and indigenous empowerment.
Hi, I'm Nicole Tremsky, and these are my last few weeks as an environmental engineering student at the University of Buffalo. Throughout my time in UB, I developed a passion for sustainability, more specifically, how our food systems impact global greenhouse gas emissions. But today, I want to talk about climate resiliency, a term so widely used, but I never really understood the meaning of it until I had the opportunity to join UB study abroad trip to Costa Rica. There, I learned what it meant to be part of a resilient community. A place where it didn't matter if you were the farmer, the teacher, or the engineer. It was all about the well-being of the community and the environment, because they well understood that one couldn't coexist without the other.
I also had the opportunity to do a study abroad in Tanzania, and it really opened my eyes, especially after coming back to UB and seeing my courses in a new light. I realized that we need to start listening, especially to people whose voices have been whispers for so long. Because climate change affects everyone, and solutions need everyone. We need to uplift the voices of all people so that we can collaborate, learning from each other and sharing in our struggles and successes. There are so many people out there telling their stories, waiting for us to listen.
After 4 years of engineering school, I came to a realization that it's not always about the technical solution. It's about the impact a community can have, the impact of compassion. If we all had more love towards the ones around us, we can have it towards the place that we live in. And from there, we can build resilient communities that support initiatives to combat the climate crisis. And to start having conversations about how electricity is generated, where our food comes from, what happens to waste in landfills, because these are the conversations that will make us more united civilians.
We often talk about how our generation has the burden of dealing with climate change, but I don't really see it as this extra burden added to our lives, because the fact of the matter is that we don't know a world without climate change. We don't have the luxury of choosing to care about climate change. It will always be a big part of our lives, and we need it to be a big part of yours too.
We need you to involve everyone in this fight.
To uplift the voices of all people.
To remember that this fight is about love.
To make climate action a part of our legacy.
Our world, this beautiful and loving place that we call home, is at stake.
Let's keep rising up for this earth that is more than worth fighting for.
Thank you.
We're gonna end it right there. I think that's a good place to go out on. Thank you very much. Take those mugs home with you. Keep that message going. Have a great rest of the semester and happy Sustainability Month.